G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. I do hope you enjoyed today's episode, and with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the Barbie. Let's get right into it. Cheers. Posted by user CriticalLemon4072, titled, Am I the asshole here for throwing out my sister-in-law and her family? My husband has 2 brothers and 1 sister. His sister and her husband are not my favorite people in the world. Recently, they have been couch surfing, as they lost their home. Long story, which could have been avoided if they had adulted like they should have. First, they stayed with my in-laws, but they used the excuse that my father-in-law has diabetes to get rid of them and their rowdy children. Next was his brother and his wife. They had 2 spare rooms, as 2 of their older children moved out a year ago, and they only have the 6-year-old and their 13-year-old twins at home. After 3 weeks, they had to move out due to a planned refurbishment. They were happy with them as they were generally tidy and helped out in the home. The youngest brother was the next to take them in. While my sister-in-law was there, she helped out in the home and kept her children on a leash. The youngest brother's wife is very house-proud, and she allowed them to stay for a limited time only, as they had a baby recently, and her mother will be staying with them to help out for the first 6 months. Then they emotionally manipulated my husband to say okay. I agreed to it on the condition that she and her husband, as well as their children, keep the place clean, because in the past, the only place they're messy in is my home. For example, if they're throwing something into the kitchen bin, they'll throw it in the general direction of it and not in the actual bin. It is extra gross when it's food stuff that dries up and stinks out the place. Similar things happened in the past, where she would leave her sanitary towels on top of the bin lid in the bathroom instead of in the bin. Her oldest daughter started her periods recently, and they asked the younger brother's wife how things were for tidiness. She said she had no complaints. They went to bed on time and kept the place clean. However, they were only there for 2 weeks. They are always tidy at the other houses. I know this from experience too. During Christmas and summer holidays when we stay over at each other's places, I've seen the difference in how they are at my place and at other places. Before they moved in, I made the younger brother and my parents and in-laws witness to them agreeing to keeping my house as clean as it is and to chip in with chores. If they broke the rules, they would be out immediately. She fussed and denied past wrongdoings, but said, "As you wish, Your Highness," sarcastically. The first 5 days was smooth sailing. This morning I found a sanitary towel on top of the bin and not even wrapped properly. That is not all. Her daughter is staying in my daughter's room, and she made a mess of the shampoo and conditioner in her bathroom and had left a tampon on the side of the sink, forgetting it from last night. Her husband leaves early for work, and the kitchen was a mess when I finally got downstairs. I have a curious toddler, and I don't want him to pick up a bloodied sanitary towel. I knocked on the guest room and told her to pack her shit and get out. She looked angry and tried to play innocent. She said it was only some blood and to chuck it in the bin if it bothered me so much. I told her no and picked up her suitcase and threw her stuff in it. At first, she wouldn't leave the house, saying she was going to wait for her brother as she doesn't take orders from me, but I told her this house belongs to me too. I dropped her and her youngest ones off at my in-laws. A few hours ago, her husband came back from work, and when I wouldn't let him in, he made a scene. He went to my in-laws, but they don't want them there due to my father-in-law's illness. When my husband returned from work, my in-laws turned up in our driveway with her and her family within 20 minutes. They are still standing outside and squabbling about being let in. I refused to open the door and told my husband that if he backs down, he isn't welcome in our home either. So the family thinks I'm the asshole here because I've never liked her and am using any excuse to get rid of her. In the comments, Mobile Prune says, I would have taken photos of the sanitary items left out and sent it on a giant group chat saying anyone who thinks you're a monster for having a problem with this is more than happy to come and clean it themselves, or host the family themselves, not the asshole. Jesus. Do you know the ramifications of medical waste? Lord have mercy, that is aggressively gross. I just can't. I used to work for a surgeon, so I've seen some pretty gross things, but even this is hugely disgusting. Clearly, she's doing it on purpose because she doesn't like you. There is no way that they are perfect guests everywhere else, but wreck your house without it being intentional. OP says, that is exactly what I told my husband. He says maybe excuse them this once, and if they do it again, then give them consequences. No, not only will she do it again, but it gives them proof that they can manipulate him into going against you. Nope, you don't want them to claim squatters' rights or something and then be stuck with them. You were clear on the rules. Not the asshole. It should have been done the second that beer called you Your Highness. See, this right here is the problem. Being sarcastic just now lost you the right to stay at my house. Good luck and F off. Should have been the appropriate response. You don't have a sister-in-law problem, you have a husband problem. It sounds like your husband would be okay with your toddler picking up a used tampon and taking a taste, like toddlers do. There is a good chance they were not cleaning up after themselves at the other homes, because there was a very convenient pre-existing disease, then a refurbishment, then another family member staying for 6 months. I'm willing to bet the others lied to you so that you would be stuck with her. Her choice to screw around and find out, not the asshole. Yeah, I'm with everyone else on this one. Isn't it so convenient that all of these things just happen when they jump from house to house? Isn't it just so convenient that all the other family members are like, holy shit, no, we're not looking after her. You have to make amends with them because we're not dealing with their shit. I think it's time for you to make up your own excuse, OP. Say, oh no, suddenly we all got Ebola virus in this house. Oh my god, that you left something around and now there's a good chance of chronic wasting disease spreading through this house and decimating the population. Your snarkiness and sarcasm are one thing, but this chronic wasting disease, it's just too dangerous for you and your kids to be in my house anymore with. I think it's amazing that you have such a shiny and titanium spine in a situation like this, OP. It's quite refreshing to see someone have their boundaries be crossed and then actually enforce the consequences of those boundaries being crossed. Thank you for being the anti-pushover that I wish I was, not the asshole. And now, onto the update. Yesterday, my driveway looked like a scene from some Mexican standoff. They were out there discussing the matter while I refused to go out and engage. After 2 hours, yes, 2 whole hours, they left. They're currently at my in-laws, but they made a promise to return to discuss the matter tomorrow as everyone would be home from work, and that way we could all find a workable solution. Well, at least that's what my husband relayed. When my husband got inside, I told him that I would not have them in my house. I told him that he could clean up after them, which he did. After cleaning up, he asked me why I made him do that. I told him that I was just as grossed out over those people's bodily fluids as he was, and unlike him, I wasn't biologically related to them. So he found it unsavory. Imagine how shitty I felt in the past cleaning up after them. He promised to buy a new bin and bleached the sink 3 times. Our strategy for tomorrow is that under no circumstances are they coming to live with us. His niece will be made to clean up the bathroom shampoo and conditioner mess. He left that part for her. In the meantime, our daughter can use our shower. We'll see how this turns out tomorrow. In the comments, MJKR says, "Good. Stand your ground on this. Sounds like sister-in-law wants to mess with you and has instructed her daughter to do the same. And what the hell? Why is your husband asking why he should clean? The question should be why he thinks you should. More like her daughter has learned bad manners from her mum. She's just following in mum's footsteps. If I were you, I would not let the niece back into the house. Yes, she made the mess, but the whole point is to get them out, not let them back in to clean. Bite the bullet and clean up the niece's mess. No need to re-enter your home if the mess is taken care of. Have hubby clean up the mess. I agree. Do not let the niece in to clean. Your in-laws will use it as a way to get in. Pay a professional service to clean your daughter's bathroom and hand a copy of the bill to brother and sister-in-law. Obviously, they won't pay you back, but let them know that if any relatives try to get you to take them in again, you will share pictures and a copy of the bill via text, WhatsApp, or whatever social media the family uses. They are so disgusting that I would never allow them in my home and would trespass them from my property. I had a buddy who was a temporary homeless for about 6 weeks. He crashed on my couch. I barely knew the dude lived there. He'd be up and out of the door before I left for work. Sheets and blankets on the couch would be neatly folded, his bags would be stacked in a corner, and the bathroom would be the same as it would have been if I was the only one living here. He knew that I was doing him a solid, so he was respectful of my home and my space. One would think that if you and your family were technically homeless, that you would not be such inconsiderate slobs. OP says, your buddy had common sense and decency. My sister-in-law, not so much. And now on to update 2. Yesterday was a long day at my in-laws. We went early to get it over and done with. My in-laws started with the guilt trip first. They mentioned that they would take them in until they found a place, but due to father-in-law's diabetes, it wouldn't be good for his health. I told them to tell their daughter to parent her children so they wouldn't run amok like monkeys. That way they could stay with them as they have spare bedrooms. That didn't land well with sister-in-law. She went on a tirade of how I have always been jealous of her and that I was trying to drive a wedge between her and her brother. I told her she didn't like her own life, so me being jealous of her and her life was a stretch that required suspension of reality. She asked my husband if he was okay with telling me what to do with his family, as he always stays out of my family's business. She told him to lay down the law and tell me that his sister and her family would stay as long as it took them to find a new place to stay. My husband was having none of that. He told her that the house was mine just as much his, and it was a 2 yes, 1 no deal. Just because I was a stay-at-home now didn't mean that I didn't contribute to buying the house when I was working. The younger brother and his wife said they wouldn't be able to host them as they had his mother-in-law staying due to the baby. The older ones mentioned the refurbishments. Both the younger and the older wives said that I was making it up about the cleanliness, as she always kept her own house clean and kept their places clean. They told me to suck it up and act like family. I told them that I wasn't there to argue about her cleanliness. I saw what I saw, and her brother was there to witness it and had to clean it up. He confirmed that he did and that I wasn't making it up. My sister-in-law slipped up and said, "Why did you clean it up?" to her brother, because according to her, I was meant to clean it up. Either she is the dumbest bichacho alive to admit it, or she knows that she has the whole family in her pocket. Either way, I made it clear that she wasn't going to stay with me, and because she got along much better with everyone else in the family, they would figure out something around their own lives. My husband told his niece that she was old enough to clean up the remaining mess, but she said no. Her father jumped in and said, "She's your niece, but she's my daughter. Don't you dare tell her what to do." It got heated between them, so they both had to walk it off. I told her and her husband that the only reason me and my husband were there was to get money back for the bin that we had to throw out due to her sprinkling biohazards around the house. She laughed in my face and said that it would never happen. I said fine. I hope you realize that when I threw you out, I didn't pack all of your belongings. I still had her Switch, her husband's and her 2 younger ones' tablets, and some of her jewelry, and a few other bits and pieces, as it all happened so quickly that day. It would all be sold to recuperate my cost. We left, but she was yelling loudly about what she would do to me if I dared to sell anything. My husband has my back, and he said go ahead and sell whatever you need to. Later on, they kept texting my husband to do them one last favor by putting up with her for a few months until she got back on her feet. I told him that no matter what, I wouldn't agree to let her, her slobby husband, and her horde of children back in. They texted me too, guilting me about his niece's education. With no place to stay close to her school, she might have to start at another school if they get a rental, which isn't in the school zone. I texted back tough luck and blocked them. My husband won't block his parents, but was pissed at his brothers for telling him that he was selfish to not take them in, as they were in a hard place in their lives. They did admit that it was gross, but excused her behavior by texting that maybe I did something to aggravate it. To top this off, the oldest wife left a voice message through her husband's number to my husband's WhatsApp. She said, "I kid you not, you are still okay to watch ... her 6-year-old on Tuesdays and Wednesdays like usual." I told him to say, figure out what the answer to that request is. So that is where we are at right now. In the comments, Ravian Wave says, "Good for your husband sticking up for you and backing you up. I can't believe the audacity of this family still expecting you to watch their children after all of this. OP says, the sister-in-law is not asking me to watch her child. The older brother's wife wants me to continue watching her child as I've done up until now. She works full-time and overtime on those days. I no longer feel like helping her out. Oh yes, I realize that. I don't know how she thinks that it's okay after all they berated you for this. I don't blame you for not wanting to do it. I'd want nothing to do with the family after this. She called your husband about it? Not you? This entire clan believes that you're unworthy of basic respect. I can't believe they thought that they would get what they want from bullying you more. Most people with sense would have tried abject apologies and promises to do better. Look, sure we treat you badly, expecting you to clean up biohazards that decent people wouldn't expect of a paid house cleaner, but you're the selfish one for refusing to be a doormat and take the abuse and filth thrown your way. Your in-laws are ridiculous, all of them. Is your husband appalled by the lot? They expect you to keep babysitting. You know they're showing up with the kiddo as usual. Even though they treated you like crap. Then of course it's birthdays and holidays with the guilt trips. Lord, now I need another update on what he tells them about the 6-year-old. Wow. I don't think I've ever seen such a combination of audacious and entitled and simply cruel behaviors all wrapped in one horrific family. So sorry that you had to deal with any of this. Even 5 days of that was an insult that your husband should be forever sorrowful for making you endure. Oh my god. Older family is just like, you know what? We have chronic wasting disease in this household right now. But also, you should just suck it up and clean those biohazards, you piece of shit. Can you look after my kids, by the way? I know I insulted you to your face and I kicked you and spat on you, but I still have to make money and I still think you should do some free babysitting for me, right? I can't. Oh my god. I'm a bit iffy on the keeping the Switch and the jewelry and everything like that. Feel like that's a little bit of a crime right there, but I can get behind it. That's funny. Given the background of the family being an amalgamation of just a shitstorm all in one, I'm giving you a pass for keeping that and holding it against them and selling that because you're going blow for blow here. It's funny. I'm loving this. And now onto the latest updates. So I went to pick up my children and had to stick around a little longer as a new family is moving to the area. The parents want to meet their children's classmates' parents, so we had a small meet and greet. The office brought my husband's older brother's daughter, the 6-year-old, to me, as I'm the one that usually picks her up, and on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, she stays with me. No one had picked her up, and when her teacher noticed me waiting in the hallway, she asked an office admin to bring her to me, thinking that I was delayed due to meeting with the new parents. I told them that I wasn't responsible for her anymore on Tuesdays and Wednesday. They took her back to the office, and they must have called her mother. When I returned home from the meet and greet, my husband said that his parents had called him and spoken their mind to him about me abandoning their granddaughter. They also put his older brother's wife on the phone, and she had a shouting match with my husband. The sister-in-law that I kicked out also had a few words with him. It ended with my husband telling his parents that they had lost the privilege to talk to him for a week, and he would only unblock them when they give him and me a sincere apology. He explained that it was up to the parents to make pickup arrangements when I had made it clear that I would no longer provide free services. The sister-in-law that I kicked out is staying with her parents for now. Her husband and her younger two, and 2 of the older ones are staying with my in-laws. The other older 2 and the other 2 younger ones are spread between the 2 other houses. But they made an indirect threat, saying that it would be a very temporary arrangement, as she promised it wouldn't take long for her to make her brother see the light. I think I am in for a long ride. In the comments, Astronaut920 says, I think they can't get any more crazy, and they continue to astound me. I can't even imagine being in your shoes. Good luck with the crazy. I hope y'all hold your boundaries. Okay, time for OP to update her security system, get new cameras outside and inside the common areas of her property, block access to all social and phone numbers, and give the school explicit instructions. followed by a confirmation email that under no circumstances is anyone but her and her husband permitted to remove the kids from school. Crazy binge rabies is not age or gender specific. OP needs to take precautions. You're not kidding. They seem like very Lifetime movie psycho type of people. So, the sister-in-law you kicked out has 8 kids? OP says, yes, I think I mentioned that in the comments of the original post. Didn't read the comments. We'll go back to do that now. Do you know why she hates you? OP says, no idea. I have always treated her with respect. So clearly the sister-in-law can't work with 8 kids, but they've been couch surfing with various family members for months. Did they give any idea when they'll actually get their own place again? OP says, none. When they are good and ready. That is an actual quote from her. So, never? If they can continue to leech off family members, all while presumably building a nice little nest egg, they have zero incentive to leave. I hope the kids don't grow up to be as entitled as the parents. So even after you told her that you wouldn't pick up a 6-year-old, they still expected you to? Looks like your husband's family are full of assholes. OP says she wasn't at school yesterday, so they had plenty of time to let her teacher know, but I guess it wasn't important to them. No, they just thought that you would feel bad about leaving her there. They did that intentionally, banking on you caving. I feel bad for the niece, but I'm glad that you didn't give in. Quote, it ended with my husband telling his parents that they had lost the privilege to talk to him for a week, and he would only unblock them when they give him and me a sincere apology. Hey, look at husband! Finally treating them like the spoiled children they've all been behaving like all along. Time out and everything. Sounds like he finally opened his eyes and is playing for the right team. I think it was so smart on OP to make him have to clean up their disgusting biohazard mess for a change. It's amazing how viewpoints change when you are all of a sudden directly affected. Maybe it's my own fault for not reading the comments, but 8 kids appearing in the last update just blindsided me. Surely you mention 8 kids as a reason for throwing the family out. Housing 8 kids is doing a lot to help, even if they're perfect. I wonder if they're also making demands about bedrooms, like their oldest daughter deserves her own room, so OP's children could go bunk with the other 7 kids. This screams missing reasons, like OP is a different race or religion. Also, I never understand the you have to take them in. Why don't they pitch in for an Airbnb for a set period of time? She said they're from the same race and religion, but the sister-in-law doesn't like her because she's older than her husband, sister-in-law's brother. I think OP also said in the comments that sister-in-law is used to OP's husband being a pushover to her, so maybe that was the expectation. I hope her husband's spine continues to be shiny and strong. It sounds like he was the sibling who always kept the peace. Screw that. This post hit a nerve. I may not be a pushover, but my siblings have long treated my life events as less than. At first, I had all the time and resources because I was single. Next, I still had all the time and resources because I was married, but not yet a parent. Reproducing has made them back off a little, but only just a bit. Similarly, all the other family members have reasons that sister-in-law and her brood can't stay, and OP's reasons are the only valid ones. What a dumpster fire. What a basket of assholes. What a circus show that this has been so far. I don't think it's over. I think there are going to be more updates. And if there is, I'm probably going to cover them on live streams later in the week. But as it stands in this update, 8 kids? And you're letting them get away with this behavior in someone else's house when you're living there for free? And you, as the parent, start putting biohazards around and leaving? Disgusting. Go to hell. I could not deal with this if I was OP. I don't blame them at all. Keep them out. Keep them away from you. Screw the older siblings as well for expecting you to do all this stuff for them, including that 6-year-old. Good that you called them on their bluff and forced them to actually deal with their own shit instead of expecting you to go out of your way after they insulted you. Screw them. Still not the asshole for this one, OP, but I'm living for this. This is so good. Anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to end today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!